Line's good.
Never on!
Whoa.
Hard! Hardly.
Come on, Brent. Line's good. Got real close.
I hear high, right?
Try and hit 2/3.
Have they saved it for her? Yes, they have.
Ooh, welcome to Game of Stones, everybody. I am Sean Graham. Scott alongside, as always. Hello, Scott.
Sean, wow, nice to be here. Thanks for having me, as always. Looking forward to starting some curling. I just got an email in my inbox, Sean. Curling starts next week.
Yeah, we are 7 days away from hitting the ice ourselves, which is kind of exciting. Although, as I always say, games in September don't really count for anything, right?
No, they just count for, getting loose, getting ready, having fun.
Yeah, it's nothing to take too seriously. It's get your legs under you. Really, anything before Thanksgiving, frankly, doesn't count. And in all reality, anything before Remembrance Day is just warm up. And then after Christmas into January, well, it's the end of the season. It doesn't matter anymore. So there's really only like 2 games that matter.
Exactly. You're just out there having fun, trying to get as much curling in as possible.
Yeah. So we'll look forward to doing that as the teams out there are looking forward to getting started on the TV portion of their schedules. Yes, the PointsBet Invitational kicks off on Wednesday as we record this. And Scott, this is a new event this year, something that people have talked about for a while. Could a single elimination event work in curling? And the people at PointsBet have decided to become the title sponsors of just such an event. Scott, we've heard about this for a few months since it was announced in the summer, and we know there's not going to be a Canada Cup this year. There's not going to be a Continental Cup this year. So are you looking forward to this particular event?
Honestly, I wasn't really until we talked about it a couple weeks ago on our podcast. Now I am. Yeah. Now I'm really looking forward to it. I think it'll be great to just have some of the new teams be able to see them for the first time. One and done gives a bit more urgency to like actually watching the games.
Okay.
Right? Because there's like legit stakes where you don't really have that with the Grand Slams where, win 2 games and you'll get in the playoffs. So I kind of like that aspect of it. Also, it'll be done faster than a Grand Slam too. So I'm looking forward to that. But Sean, I'm also looking forward to this little competition that Curling Canada announced, eligible for everybody, but in particular to the media, to fill out our brackets NCAA style and compete for some money.
Yeah, so Curling Canada through PointsBet is doing a contest, a bracket challenge. If you get a perfect bracket on both the men's and the women's side, you could win $1 million. Now, if you saw on social media, have upped it, and we are going to give $10 million if somebody submits a perfect bracket under the condition that it is a $10 million credit to any Patreon content that we have, which is none. But still, it's a $10 million contest. It's pretty good, Scott.
Pretty good, Sean. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
And then even if you don't win the $1 million, the total grand prize is a VIP trip for 2 to next year's PointsBet Invitational, including VIP passes, airfare, and hotel accommodation. So pretty sweet. Pretty sweet, right?
Yeah. It depends where it is, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, second prize, Sean, is 2 passes to the event. Airfare and hotel not included. So,
and third prize is you're fired. And,
as always.
So we're looking forward to participating in this. We are going to participate in the media part. So that is open to media participants. I assume many of our podcast friends will be submitting their brackets into this. And I believe it's a $1,000 donation to the For the Love of Curling. In the name of the winning media entry. I believe that's what we're competing for, Scott.
Perfect. Nothing wrong with that.
Do you think, though, if we get a perfect bracket, they would give us $1 million too? Or do we have to
I mean, we'd obviously have to donate some of that $1 million to For the Love of Curling, right?
Well, 1,000 of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good question.
I don't
We'll
know.
have to see. I think we have a good shot at this, Sean, because we're experts at curling. We talk about it every week, so obviously we must be pretty good at making picks.
Hopefully. So let's get into this. We'll go through the bracket. We will make our picks. We'll talk about why we're making these picks a little bit. If you remember a few weeks back, as Scott said, we went through and talked about the brackets and who is here and who is not here. Is only Canadian teams. This is something that I wasn't sure about over the course of the summer when they made this announcement. Was this going to be everybody? Because it just said in the initial press release, the top, whatever, 13 teams or 12 teams would get invites, but it didn't specify Canadian or around the world. Clearly, it's just a Canadian event. Interesting when you think about it. Probably that's, I don't know, like it's like the Canada Cup, I guess. Like I thought this was the replacement for the Continental Cup. Seems more like a
Yeah.
replacement for the Canada Cup in some ways.
Yeah, that's true. And it does seem like it's the event that it's replacing this year for sure is the Canada Cup. But going forward with Olympic qualifying still up in the air for how it's going to work, they're likely to bring back the Canada Cup. And as the prize is a trip to next year's PointsBet Invitational, boy, that'd be a real kick in the teeth if they just canceled it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Especially if one of these teams, like if one of the teams that is unlikely to get there next year wins somehow in some sort of amazing Cinderella run. It's the Landon Rooney's of the world win this, and then next year, like, no, we're good.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right, Scott, what do you want to start with here? You want to start on the men's side or the women's side?
Let's start on the men's side because I've already clicked a few of them. So.
Okay, so let's start. We'll start on the either left side or top of the bracket, depending on what you're looking at. So this is going to be the 1/16 match. This is Brad Gushue against Nick Deagle. Nick Deagle was or is the defending national club champion. They are from Nova Scotia. Brad Gushue, of course, from Newfoundland and Labrador, the defending bronze medalist at the Olympic Games. New look team here, of course, EJ Harnden is in, and Brett Gallant is out at the second position. Scott, Brad Gushue hasn't played yet this year. They did put out a rather funny video on social media of Brad taking what he said was his first slide of the year and being unable to get up from said slide. So I don't know if that changed your thoughts overall of how they're going to perform, but in this matchup, is there any chance that Nick Deagle can win this game?
No.
Okay. So we got Gushue moving on. So let's move to the 8-9 matchup. That's going to be John Epping and Mike McEwen. Both these teams are now playing out of Ontario. This past weekend, they were participating, or at least John Epping was playing in the Okotoks event, the pretty significant event there. John Epping made it into the quarterfinals, lost to Matt Dunstone in that quarterfinals. I don't know if McEwen was playing, they didn't make the playoffs. So, Scott, this is an interesting matchup. I think it's, as we talked about before, this is a good 8-9. Do you have a strong feeling between Epping and McEwen here?
When I pick my NCAA bracket, Sean, I try to pick 9s over 8s because you get more points for it. Does that work here? I'm not really sure. Yeah. What's your thoughts?
I think that this is where the $1 million offer kind of saves itself, just because John Epping is a player who admittedly will have great games and have bad games. And so in a one-game setup, it's so hard to predict anything with John Epping. And Mike McEwen, new team, how are they going to relate to each other? I don't know. And then you have the, if it even matters, the quote unquote rivalry of, Fry is now with Mike McEwen, used to play, of course, with John Epping. Like, what is that dynamic going to be? First time playing against each other, who, even if they like each other, which I think they do, you still, you kind of want to beat them, your former teammate, right? So it's a really interesting dynamic here. I just looked. McEwen did not play in the Okotoks event. I'm going to lean slightly towards John Epping, though.
Okay, my gut would be McEwen for the
Okay.
reasons you said, but
Okay.
I'm easily convinced of Epping. So let's do that.
All right. So we got John Epping winning that 8-9 matchup. So let's move on then to the next game. That is going to be Reed Carruthers, of course, used to play with Mike McEwen and Team McCruthers, going up against Braden Calvert. We talked about him when we talked about the bracket. Look for them maybe potentially taking the next step here in this quad. This is the 5-12 matchup. Reed Carruthers was in Okotoks, made it to the quarterfinals as well, losing to Kevin Cooey out there. Scott, do you give Braden Calvert a chance?
You know what, Sean? I do. There's always going to be a 12 over a 5. I would pick Braden Calvert.
Okay, I'm good with that. Let's do it.
Let's do it. We're not going to win this bracket by going chalk.
That is very true. We will not. And I think it's when we talk about Reed Carruthers and his team on the schedule episode, they're playing a lot this year. So, they'll have a chance to make up any losses here.
I think so.
Next up is the 4-13 matchup. Kevin Cooey, the team that, of course, beat Reed Carruthers in that quarterfinal, actually made it all the way to the finals of the Okotoks event, losing to Brendan Botcher. Scott, I put out on social media that it was nice of Kevin Cooey and Brendan Botcher to let us all participate over the summer about lineup changes and what it all means, just to have another final between the two of them. Nothing matters. So we played each other. Brendan Botcher won that game, but a good start for Team Cooey, that new look team. Jack Smeltzer, they are from New Brunswick. They are the sponsors invite here, a local squad getting the invite to this event. I think we asked what the over-under on points for Jack Smeltzer and his team was, and we're not particularly optimistic there. Have you grown any more optimistic about their chances since we last talked?
Well, the way that Team Cooey played on the weekend sort of solidified what I was thinking there. So yes, Kevin Cooey to advance.
Okay.
Sean, let's finish up this side of the bracket.
Finish up the side of the bracket. Okay, so if we go back to the top of the bracket, that is going to be Brad Gushu against John Epping, 1-8 matchup.
Yeah, I still like Gushu. It'll be the first event they're playing, so maybe a little rust gets kicked off in that first match, but it should be close. But I still think Gushu. Sean, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think we underestimated them significantly going into the Brier last year and then going into the World Championship as well. And I'm tired of doing that. So let's have them move on here.
Very good. And then Braden Calvert against Kevin Cooey.
I think it's got to be Cooey.
I think so, yeah.
Nice run for Braden Calvert. That's a good win for them, but let's not go crazy.
Yeah, let's not go crazy. And then Gushu Cooey, I'm leaning Cooey. Sean, what about you?
Yeah, I agree. I think that's maybe where Gushu, not having played a lot this year, having played at all, maybe they're just not quite as sharp as they will be later in the season.
All right, so we've got Kevin Cooey in the finals on the top half of the bracket. Let's move down to the bottom.
All right, so let's start here with the 6-11 matchup. That's going to be Glenn Howard against Felix Asselin. These two teams from Ontario and Quebec, respectively. Should be a good matchup here, Scott, between these two sides.
I think so, yeah. This one's hard for me to pick because, Team Howard is very experienced and a very, very good team. And Felix's team it's the old Mike Fournier team, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some good players. I don't know. I'm feeling like they might be a little frisky. I'm sort of leaning towards picking them. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so too. Glenn Howard's at the point of his career where he's kind of in that Epping mode of like, if he's off that day, they're not going to win, which I guess is the case for all skips, but he's had more off days recently in recent years than he had before. They're still not super frequent, but he's not at that same level. And Felix and that team did really well last season, especially getting into the Brier, pulling Mike Fournier back in after he had retired for like the third time. So it'll be It'll be interesting to see them now. This is the team moving forward. But yeah, I kind of like them in this spot.
Yeah, me too. Let's take them.
All right. Let's move on then to the 314 matchup. That is going to be Matt Dunstone against Greg Smith. Of course, Greg Smith won the fan vote to get into this event, beating out local favorite Jimmy the Kid, who I'm not still sure how they didn't get that sponsor's invite, but hey, I'm not the sponsor, so I didn't do the invites. Going up here against, as you say, Matt Dunstone. He lost to Brendan Botcher in the semifinals in Okotoks this weekend. Scott, do you give the upstart Greg Smith a chance?
I give them a chance, but I think it's pretty low. Thinking about these 4 games sort of at the bottom that'll be featured at the same time of day, you think this might be the TV matchup?
Yeah, I think it would be between all of the matchups here. Like I'd be the other one would be Howard Aslan, but I don't think so. I think, if you're gonna have a fan vote to see who gets in the event, put them on TV.
Put them on TV, yeah. But I think one and done for fan favorite team Greg Smith, and Dunstone advances.
Okay. And these games are these actually, when are they? So this is the Wednesday night slot?
I don't have the media guide open right now.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. So these 4 games are the Wednesday night slot here on TV.
Yeah. Pretty good.
And then they don't play Thursday. Good God, this event. Why is it taking so long? Anyway, so what do you like? So we like
Dunstone, right?
We like Dunstone here, yes. Okay. So we'll put Dunstone through. All right. Down at the bottom half of this is Colton Flash, number 7 seed. The prohibitive favorites, I think, out of Saskatchewan this season, going up against Karsten Sturmey in the 10 seed here. Karsten Sturmey, as we talked about, has had some success at the Alberta Provincials the past couple of years, making it into the playoffs, into a final. Hasn't been able to quite break through yet. Colton Flash was in Okotoks this weekend. He lost to Kevin Cooey, making a semifinal there. So a good start to the season for Flash and his side. Not really the start of their season. They've already played overseas. So they are well into shape, Scott. Do you think that will serve them well in this matchup against Karsten Sturmey?
I do. I quite like Team Flash here. They made the semifinals this weekend, as you said, and also made the semifinals the weekend or 2 weeks before that event, Labor Day weekend in Saskatchewan. So, I quite like their chances.
I agree. So we'll put them forward. And then the final first round matchup, number 2 seed, Brendan Botcher, of course, winning this weekend in Okotoks. 3-2 in that final, a real pitchers duel there, going up against Landon Rooney, the defending Canadian junior champions out of Ontario in the 15 slot. Scott, it'll be cool to see Landon Rooney there. Mentioned it when I talked with Sabina about sort of how cool it'll be to see Landon and his team there at this event, but not sure if we'll get 2 games out of them this week.
I'm not sure. No, I would lean against it. So Botcher through for me.
All right. So if we go back then to the top of this half of the bracket, we have Felix Aslan against Matt Dunstone, a 3-11 matchup.
I think I'm going to go Dunstone here, Sean. What do you say?
Yeah, I don't mind that. That's a really good team who has played. I think played a little more than Felix and that team. So give them the edge here.
Yeah, and I'm gonna push to take Flash over Botcher.
Flash, like they're playing really, they're playing well. But of course, Botcher just won that big event in Okotoks. But Flash, as we saw at the Brier last year, he was able to pull off some pretty big victories in important spots for him and the team. And it really was, with all due respect to the team, it was Colton Flash who carried them through that. And when he's on, he is on. And especially, I don't know. I've never really talked to Colton Flash, maybe once or twice in scrums or whatever. But I wonder if he has like a bit of a chip on his shoulder after no longer being on Team Cooey. and whether or not that sort of influenced him or was in his head at the Briar last year, because he seemed like he was really playing with a purpose. And if he's carried that into this year, it'd be interesting to see, right? First real TV events, new event for everyone. Yeah, I don't mind that pick, Scott.
Yeah, I kind of like it. And like I said, we're not going to win with going chalk here. So I like Colton Flash into that semifinal. Flash against Dunstone is going to be tough. I feel like if Flash is beating Botcher, they're probably beating Dunstone too. They're probably feeling it on a bit of a heater. But what's your thoughts?
So that game would be Friday afternoon, Flash against Botcher, and then it would be a full 24 hours to Saturday afternoon for the semifinal, also at 4 p.m. So I don't know. Yeah, let's go for it. Let's go for the narrative of Flash against Cooey. I like that.
Good. Okay. And then Flash and Cooey played each other at Okotoks in that semifinal, like you mentioned. And it was a close game. It was 8-7 final in favor of Team Cooey.
Okay. So do you think Flash gets the revenge here and wins the inaugural PointsBet Invitational?
That's a tough one, right? Like, I think that would be the great narrative of it. Yeah, Flash got 2 threes against Cooey in that final.
That's hard. That's going to be hard to replicate. It's hard to get threes off those guys.
It is, yeah. My gut going into this was that Cooey would win, but
okay. Let's do it. Let's go with Cooey. I think we have enough non-chalky things to get points, but we can go with the chalky winner.
What will the combined final score of the men's championship game be as a tiebreaker?
These are 8 end games, I believe.
They're 8 end games. They played an 8-7 game in Okotoks.
Yeah, let's go. I would say like 6-4.
So like a 10?
Yeah, that's still pretty high scoring, I think.
Okay. 10 points in the final.
Yep.
And I'm submitting it. Our entry, Game of Stones.
Yeah. All right. So there you go. So we got Kevin Cooey to win on the men's side. That is now submitted. You can compete against us in this Sweep 16 challenge. So let's move on to the women's bracket. Let's start with the top matchup, the top left. If you're looking at the image that Curling Canada put out, the Wednesday 2 p.m. slot, the first draw of the PointsBet Invitational. The 116 match is Carrie Einarson against Tracy Larocque. Tracy Larocque from Northern Ontario. Carrie Einarson, the, what is it now? Like 14 times defending Scotties champion. No, it's 3. 3, right? 4? 3. 3. Time defending Scotties champion. I don't know, Scott. Tracy Larocque, they're good. They're not a bad team, of course, but I don't know if they'll be able to beat Carrie Einarson, as we talked about last time.
Yeah, we're talking too much about this game, Sean. It's Carrie Einarson. Come on, let's go.
Right. All right, 8-9 matchup is Kelsey Rock from Alberta against Christina Black from Nova Scotia. We've seen both of these players at the national level before. Christina Black shifting into the Skips role over the past few years. Kelsey Rock having some success out there in Alberta as well. As with the men, Scott, I think this is maybe the most interesting game on the board. But I'm not feeling strongly one way or the other here.
I'm feeling Kelsey Rock. I don't know why. I don't know why I'm feeling that strongly about it, but I just sort of have a good feeling about them.
Okay. So we got Kelsey Rock going through then to the second round. The next matchup is the 5-12 match. That's going to be Jennifer Jones against Andrea Kelly. Andrea Kelly, of course, after that great run at the Briar last year, and is just they continue to load up. This should be a really good team, assuming they make it through to the Scotties this year. Something to keep our eye on moving through the season. But at the same time, it is Jennifer Jones, and they did win their first event together last weekend. So they have had a good start to the season. So I think this should be the TV game, if I'm being honest. But what do you think, Scott?
Well, I do think it will be the TV game. I'm wondering if some of that home cooking might help them out. Yeah, if you got Jennifer Jones throwing those last rocks, you got a good chance to win every time. But
Yeah,
we picked 5-12 in the last one. Does it serve us to pick it again?
sure.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, let's do
Does
it.
it?
I
Let's do
like
it.
this. This Andrea Kelly team. I think they're seated a little low. I know it's based on points,
Yeah.
but based on what we saw at the Scotties last year, the lineup change that was made, I like them. I think they are a strong team, and let's throw some more excitement in there. Let's go with that 12.
All right, I like it. Now this, Jill Brothers will be slotting in at second on their team. So yeah,
Love that.
Okay,
Love that.
well, I like it too. Let's pick them.
All right. The 4-13 matchup is Chelsea Carey against Selena Sturmey. We talked about Selena Sturmey last time too. They've had some success provincially, and of course Chelsea Carey has had some success nationally. But what do you think here, Scott? Do we go with the more experienced Chelsea Carey?
Yeah, I was thinking about the upset here, Sean, but reading the media guide, it seems that Sturmey has two spares on their team for this event. Kira Brunton at third and Calissa Daly at lead, replacing their two usual players. So I think that's going to be tough, right? To come through and win with two spares. So I'll go with Carey.
All right, so Carey is through. So let's play out the rest of the bracket. Carey Anderson against Kelsey Rock.
Yeah, Team Anderson's really good, Sean.
Yes, they are. And then does a hometown run continue for Andrea Kelly?
I think it could. What has Chelsea Carey's team done so far this year? Have they played?
It's a wonderful question. I'm sure they've played a little bit. They did play. I think they played in one of the Alberta events so far.
Yeah,
so
the Saville Shootout.
Yes,
they played. Went 2-3 in that event, and they lost in the semifinal of the Martinsville, Saskatchewan Stadium event to Tirinzoni. They beat two Korean teams who are pretty strong, but
the Korean teams are good.
Yeah, you know what? Let's roll with it. Let's roll Andrea Kelly right through.
All right, and then the final matchup on this side of the bracket: Andrea Kelly against Carey Anderson.
We saw her beat her in the Scotties, right?
Not in the playoffs.
Didn't they win the 1-2 game?
Oh, they might have won the 1-2 game. Did they win the 1-2?
So
no, they weren't in the final.
Oh yeah, no, they weren't. I don't think they make it. I think Carey Anderson wins.
So I agree. So we have Carey Anderson in to the finals. Yeah, the final was Carey Anderson against Krista McCarville.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we go into that 1-2, the 1-2 game was McCarville Crawford. McCarville winning in an extra, stealing the extra end, and that's how that all happened.
But didn't
Andrea Crawford beat Carey Anderson in that weirdo playoffs but not playoffs thing?
Yeah, to see who would go to the 1-2 game.
Yeah, so one there in that matchup.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
All right, so we got Carey Anderson into the final here. All right, let's go to the bottom side of the draw, or the right side, again, depending on how you're looking at this. Let's start with the 6-11 matchup, one that I think should be a lot of fun. Could be the TV game. Casey Scheidegger against Carrie Galusha. Casey Scheidegger did play in the Curling Stadium Alberta Curling Series. Rename these things. You don't need the word curling twice. But she did play in that. Got the bye into the semifinal where she lost to Rafaela Kaiser there this weekend. So they had a good week to get into that semifinal game. And Scott, Carrie Galusha, this will be their, I believe, first big event on the season. Although they have been in Edmonton. So excuse me. So they did play in the Saville Shootout. So both teams have had events under their belts. What do you think?
I like this matchup. They did meet in the quarterfinals of that Saville Shootout event, losing to Scheidegger winning 7-5 rather. but I sort of like this spot for Galusha.
Yeah, me too. I think fan support for sure. They are fan favorites, so
Yeah,
let's do it.
yeah. Let's do it. Why not?
Yeah. So Galusha, we have through. Let's move on to the 314 matchup. Tracy Fleury, which I still think it's funny that this is how they're listing this team. Maybe if they were sponsored by a different betting site, maybe it would be different. I don't know. Going up against Suzanne Burt. Of course, the fan vote with Suzanne Burt. And of course, Colleen Jones is going to be playing for Team Burt this week. That should be a lot of fun to see Colleen Jones out there, which maybe they get the TV game just because of that, so that we get some Colleen Jones on TV. This is the Thursday afternoon at 2 p.m. Slot for these 4 games. So it'll be interesting to see what they pick there. But Scott, do you think that Colleen Jones can bring some magic to Suzanne Burt and give us a bit of an upset here?
I think that Colleen Jones actually hurts their chances, Sean. Unfortunately, Marie Christensen is a great player. Tough to argue that Colleen Jones isn't, but she's not what she used to be. And I will pick Team Fleury Holman, Team Floman to win this one.
All right. And we should note, too, that that curling show is coming back in advance of this. I believe they're going to do, I think Colleen at least will be obviously will be at the event. And I don't know if Devin Haru will be out there as well, but that is coming back this week, they announced. So let's move on to the 7-10 matchup. That is Holly Duncan going up against Penny Barker. I said this about the 8-9 matchup in terms of like difficult to assess and to have a strong feeling one over the other. I actually kind of feel this way here. Holly Duncan against Penny Barker. But I think I might be leaning slightly towards Holly Duncan.
Yeah, I'm leaning slightly that way too, and I'm not sure why. But I think their fall that they had last year is maybe coming into play with that. But
yeah,
that's all I got.
All right. Well, yeah, let's go with Holly Duncan there in the 7-10. And then Caitlin Laws against Emily Deschênes, the reigning Canadian junior champions from Nova Scotia. Caitlin Laws and her team won this weekend in the Mother Club event that took place in Winnipeg. So congratulations to them. So they get a big win there, beating Sarah Anderson in the final. Scott, can they keep that momentum going here?
I think so, Sean. I think so.
All right, let's run through the rest of this. Carrie Galusha against Team Floman.
Give me Floman. Although Galusha does usually play well against Rachel Holman, but
yeah, beat them last year at the Scotties.
Yeah. I'll give it to Tracy Fleury. Will be the edge on this game.
All right, Holly Duncan against Caitlin Laws.
Give me Team Laws to keep that momentum going.
All right. And then Fleury against Laws in the first of what we expect to be many, many high-profile, big TV matchups between these two teams over the next 4 years.
I like Caitlin Laws, Sean. I like her to come through. And then the final, Anderson against Laws.
Yep, that's what we have.
So a little chalky, 1-2 in the final, but give me Caitlin Laws to win.
All right.
Coming off a win last week. I like it.
Back-to-back wins for Caitlin Laws. So that's what we have on the docket there. Our two winners
Score check, Sean. Score check.
Oh, excuse me. I think this could be a high-scoring game. Let's go with 8-7. So 15.
A 15-point combined score. I like it. And I will hit submit. Answers are saved.
Okay, so there you go. You can compete against us. It is sweep16.ca. I think you have until Wednesday to get in, basically until the event starts on Wednesday. If you want to participate in this, there is an option to put money somehow on I don't really understand how, but that is an option as well. But we are not doing it with wagers. We're just doing the fun part of it.
Yeah, entries close September 21st at 12 p.m. Eastern time, so noon Eastern time. on Wednesday the 21st.
Thank you for clarifying that 12 p.m. was noon. I appreciate that.
Well, you know, some people confuse AM and PM, and thought I'd just be a little more clear.
So there you have it. So again, if you want to participate, sweep16.ca. You can find our entry, see if you beat it. You probably will. But if we win the media one, that would be fun for us. And we will brag to an extent that is disproportionate with the accomplishment. And if we do not win, we will never mention it ever again.
Exactly.
So there you go. That's it. TV, curling on TV is back this week. TSN with the coverage. If you're outside of Canada, I have not seen whether or not ESPN Plus or whatever the ESPN thing is that normally picks it up, if they will have any of this. And internationally, I would be surprised if anyone picks this up internationally, but outside of potentially ESPN. But that's it. Should be a lot of fun to have TV back on our screens. It'll be more fun if my prediction that I made before the podcast is true in terms of the broadcast. But I'm not going to say it on here just in case it's not accurate. But if it is accurate, I think we were recording when I said it, and I'll play it next week. So Scott, you're excited for this, right?
Super excited, Sean. Ready to watch curling on TV, and looking forward to seeing all these new teams.
Yeah,
being in a fun new event.
Should be a good time, and we'll do an episode next week to recap all the fun and frivolity from the PointsBet Invitational. So if you have not yet, please be sure to subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcast. Do the likes, ratings, comments, all that good stuff. Helps other people find the show, keeps us growing, and we are certainly appreciative of all the support that we receive. You can also head on over to GameOfStonesPod.com. All the episodes are there, plus a link to the merch under the merch tab. It is chilly here in the nation's capital, and I have worn my Game of Stones hoodie a few times this past week. So you can get one of those. You can get t-shirts, toques, all the stuff that we got there. Proceeds to the Sandra Schmirler Foundation and Food Banks Canada. We, of course, match all of those. And do follow along with everything we got going on social media at Game of Stones Pod on Twitter and Instagram, Game of Stones Podcast on Facebook. And you can reach out, let us know what you want to hear on the show, Game of Stones Podcast at gmail.com. So, Scott, 7 days until we hit the ice. How are you preparing for our inaugural matchup?
Well, my first point of order is to go fix my neck. I don't know, like I slept funny or something. My neck really hurts. So first going to go do that. Then going to be hitting the gym, doing some big leg presses.
Sure.
Some rows, some trap pull downs, all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah. So that you're well suited to stand around for 15 minutes before throwing 2 rocks. Yes.
That's right.
Yeah. Make sure you maybe drink a little tea too, maybe a little honey in there, so that your voice is ready.
Well, Sean, I also need to make sure that I get my Game of Stones hoodie because it's in my luggage, which is sitting in Pearson Airport and has been for 3 days. And so I'm hoping I get it back sometime soon so I can
hopefully
wear that to our game next week.
Yeah. Got to be on brand. I'll tell you too, I've seen people wear the Game of Stones t-shirts Thursday nights at the Ottawa Curling Club. And in sort of wrestling parlance, I'm totally marked out. I was so excited to see them out in the world. It was so exciting. It was amazing. So if you have one and we're going to be somewhere where we are and you wear one, I will be so excited to hang it. I'll want a picture with you, because I don't think anyone wants a picture with me. So there you go. So check out the merch, all that stuff. We'll talk about our games as we come back. Scott, always a pleasure. Enjoy the games, everybody. We'll talk to you again next week. But until then, keep those brooms on the ice and don't dump that intern.
Make the final.